Yo, what's up? What's up? Welcome back to 101.1 The Culture. You know who it is. It's your dog, Benny Hertz. And today I got somebody special. And y'all gonna say I always got somebody special, right? But I'm gonna tell you, been checking this brother out for a minute. Someone recommended him, said, hey, you got to get him on the podcast. So I want to welcome my dog, Beezy. What's happening, man?
What's good, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored, as they say.
For sure.
You know, it's been a crazy week with all the storms over the last. It seemed like every weekend we've been getting some crazy storms, right?
Yeah.
And I know you said that you was having some storm issues today.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I got some storm issues too, man. Trees falling in. Well, got to take detours and stuff, so you know how it go.
For sure. Well, I'm glad you were able to make it, man, because we definitely gonna get into your business a little bit, but we got to let the people know a little bit more about you, right?
Most definitely.
So I always like to start off, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your background, because we're going to dig deep, but we just want a little bit about your background.
All right, man. I'm Beezy, man. You know, born and raised Birmingham, Alabama. Mostly off the east side, kind of like the Woodlawn, East Lake area. Okay. You know, so I grew up in that area. So, you know, man, so that's where I'm really from, you know, on that side. So, you know, like I said, I grew up in a single parent home, you know, just, you know, single parent home, just me and mama for real. So, you know, we did what we had to do, man. We adapted and now we here, bro.
Okay, for sure. So did you go to school out there also?
Yeah, I went to Center Point High School / Irwin. Irwin. Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of go back with it a little bit.
Yeah, man. Back when Mr. Van Phillips was the principal. So shout out to Mr. Phillips. He was a good principal.
For sure. I believe my nephew went there. Way back in the day, and you know he probably your age now. You know what I'm saying? You know I'm a little old, so you know I got to. You know I'm past unk stage now, right? As they say, but you know that's my nephew, so he went to school out there, went to Huffman.
Okay. Shout out to the Vikings.
That's right. Did you go to high school over there?
I started there, but I started there my freshman year, but I ain't finished there. You know, I probably did like a half semester there.
Oh, so you was in and out.
In and out, man. I couldn't dig the uniform policy there. Back then we was in the uniform, so
I remember that.
Yeah, I couldn't really get into the uniform policy.
So where'd you go after that?
I went straight to Irwin. To Irwin right after that.
Okay, for sure. So growing up on the east side, so I live pretty much on the east side now. I'm like Crestwood area. Then my mom used to stay off kind of like 1st and 85th back in the day. Mm-hmm. Not too far from the Shell.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly
up the hill from there. You know what I'm saying? Tell me a little bit how that was growing up during your times.
Man, like I said, man, you know, you familiar with the High Chaparral area?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I grew up kind of in that area too. You know, my auntie stayed over there, so a lot of time my mom was at work, so my auntie had to take care of me for a little minute till mom got off, whatever. So I was more so in those kind of High Chaparral projects, you know what I'm saying? Mostly on those side, man. You know, back when the candy lady and all that stuff, we had the candy lady in the
Shout out to the candy lady, man.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
she kept you going when you was young.
Yeah,
and did you get the beat? So did you have bebops?
Yeah, cool cups.
Okay.
Yeah, we had the cool cups.
On the east, it was the cool cups.
Yeah, the cool cups.
Now I think on the west they used to call them bebops.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
But we always have called them cool cups over here, though.
For sure. So it sounds like, although single parent home, you had aunts, cousins.
Yeah.
So kind of a tight knit kind of family.
Right. I had a lot of support, you know what I'm saying, that made up, you know, when my father wasn't present. So I had a lot of support. My dad was doing time at the time. So, you know, I had a lot of support. So I didn't ever really feel like, you know.
You didn't feel like you missed nothing?
Nah, for real. My mom made sure I had the best of the best, for real.
That's what's up. Yeah. Shout out to the single moms, man, because, you know, we just had Mother's Day. You know what I'm saying? So I don't say mothers or fathers. They just strong mothers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the mothers out there that's really getting it in for all us young men, because it's hard.
Most definitely.
It's hard. And they make it look easy. Mm-hmm. Especially as a kid, you know, you almost take for granted how much that they do in order to make sure that everything is straight and in line. And for you to come out on the positive end of where you are now, you know, I attribute a lot to my mom.
Right.
You know, so.
Right. I owe a lot to mine too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, I just recently lost mine about 2 months ago through cancer. Man. So, you know, but, you know, I rode her all the way to the end. She fought real hard, man. So I'm just I'm just here, bro. Just, continue keep her legacy going, and just
Man, very sorry for your loss.
Most
Mine's
definitely.
been going. I think this year is going to be 12 years.
Oh wow.
So it don't necessarily get. It gets easier, but it's still that it's mom. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I feel,
Regardless.
I feel like it's something that you'll never be okay with. You just learn how to cope with. You know what I'm saying? So I just, like I said, I just take it day by day, bro. I wouldn't wish that on nobody, but just cancer, man, just seeing the whole process and just dealing with it, just facing it, just watching it, it's a lot. It changed a whole aspect of life for real. You know what I'm saying? You look at it different because you don't really know how much detail of the cancer really affects that one person. You just see a crazy transition from going good to going bad, you know what I'm saying, at a very fast pace. So it just, you just live and learn it, stuff like that.
Well, shout out to you. I know your mom's looking down on you.
Yeah.
She proud of you. You know what I'm saying? You pushing your music.
Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I saw you in the A with my girl Tampa. Shout out to Tampa.
Shout out to Tampa.
And here you are rocking with 101, rocking with Benny Hurts. So you out there pushing, man. So
guys too.
What first got you into music?
Man, honestly, man, what really got me into music was my cousins, man. My cousin, we used to stay at grandma's house.
Okay.
And, we started out with the freestyles a lot. So, man, they started doing music before I started doing music. Then something just gravitated. I just really just started studying and started taking it serious. When I had my first viral moment, that really just turned me up even more.
Okay.
So
how long ago was that?
About 2015, 2016, when I first had my first viral moment. I was in a gospel group.
Okay.
It was called Hill Zion at the time. It was 3 of us, and at the time, man, we did a show. It was at a small church, and we didn't know that one of Kirk Franklin's singers was there. We didn't know who she was. She never gave us that kind of impression, none of that. And she recorded our performance and uploaded on Instagram, and it just went viral. Before I know it, Tamar Braxton got a hold to it. Kirk Franklin got a hold to it. Just a whole bunch of big name gospel artists got a hold to it. And before I know it, we on World Star, Facebook, and everything else. And it just something that just happened without trying to happen. So,
that be God and that be the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people shoot for virality, and I'm like, you can't really shoot for it. All you got to do is just keep on pushing and staying consistent, putting out the content, good content. And sometimes it could be shot in the raw. It don't even have to be edited good. You know what I'm saying? It's just, if it's tight, it's tight. And if it touch people, it touch people.
Right.
And so you started out doing gospel rap.
I did.
Okay. Is that still like your primary now, or?
Nah, I'm more so, I'm just more so like a free spirit, just, I don't really like to be boxed in. I like to make whatever music I make. Don't get me wrong, I still perform at churches and stuff.
Okay.
But, I just didn't want to be boxed in. I wanted people to accept me for who I am. So
that's dope.
So I felt like if I couldn't be accepted by being me, then I don't really need to be here or do a show there. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So I never wanted to hide who I was, who I am as an artist. I always give you the real. I always give you 100% me. So, it's so many people that hides behind the scenes and don't be authentic. So I just wanted to be something different.
I really like that. And now you said that when you started out, it was was it your cousins you said it was again?
Yeah, my cousins.
Y'all were in a group?
Nah, we were just freestyling at the house all the time. But at the time, they had the videos and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't going that far with it. I was just freestyling with them. We'll smoke a little weed here and there. And, they'll play an instrumental, some new song that just came out, play the instrument, we rapping and all that kind of stuff. So, it just went from there.
And you got the bug.
I just got the bug, and I've been sticking with it ever since.
So I always ask people this: do you remember like your first rap, your first rap that you wrote?
Oh, no, but I know how to pull it up.
Oh, so you know how to pull it up. So
yeah.
you got it on video.
Yeah, I got it on YouTube.
Okay, let me ask you: was it fire or was it garbage?
It was garbage.
No,
it was garbage. It was garbage, bro. It was garbage.
You know what?
But I enjoyed the process, though. I look back at it, I'd be really proud of myself. But you got to start somewhere.
I tell people that, and I think people like to, when I say fall in love, people want to fall in love with the end result.
Right.
But you don't know what the end result is. So you got to fall in love with the process. It's the grind, the everyday grind, the everyday, hey, I'm fit to pin up. Hey, I'm fit to hit the yo. Hey, I'm fit to shoot some content. Hey, you know what? That wasn't as far as I thought it was. Let me go back to the drawing board and let me hit the booth. Let me get all my stuff together and make it as well as it can. And then, okay, I got to move to the next one. The next one. It's kind of like working out.
Right.
You know, you don't get buff in a day. You know what I'm saying? You got to love the gym.
It's very repetitive for sure. Because I mean, even when I make a new song, man, I listen to that song about 100 times just to hear the flaws in it, just to see what I made a mistake in. Even though it may sound good to somebody else, I still constantly play back that track over and over. Most time I like to be by myself when I listen to it because I know, you know, when you have somebody in your car, they don't want to keep hearing that same song. So, you know, I kind of wait till I get my downtime to really study something that I just made, you know.
Yeah. I like the car time. You know, me being an engineer, it's like that used to be the way you test the mix. It's gotta hit in the car. If it don't hit in the car, then you know you had to go back to the drawing board because when I came up, that's how everybody listened to music. You know, everybody would ride around. You didn't have a whole bunch of earbuds and you know Bluetooth speakers, so everybody rode around in their car bumping music. and now it's like folks play it off the phone. They play it in the headphones when they're working out or whatever, right? And so the car is like one of them places where it's almost like a mini studio. You close the doors.
Right.
You know, you might even turn the engine off. Sometimes I used to turn the AC down. so I could hear everything. And that's one of them quiet moments where ain't nobody else around. And you getting a feel of if you did a good job. Now, when you think of the process, because you said you fell in love with the process.
Right.
At what point in the process did you know, outside of the viral moment, of course we know the viral moment turned you up, but when did you really know that you were on to something?
When I first found me a real engineer.
Okay.
You know, like I say, it was me, but you know, a lot of people don't credit the engineer too. So once I had made that connection with the right person, the first person I started with was Hood Zone.
Okay, shout out Hood Zone, dope engineer and producer.
Yeah, so I started off with Hood Zone. I mean, Hood Zone made a lot of hits. You know what I'm saying? He helped me elevate my sound to what it is now. So he played a part of it, and then after that, I got with my boy John Ivory.
Okay,
you know, Intact. People call him Intact. So that's who still do my stuff now. So you know, Intact. You know, I send a lot of work to him.
John Fire.
Yeah, John definitely fire. And then so, you know, I've been at Carlisle. I work with Carlisle too.
Okay.
So I've been a little area where I got a little circle.
You got your circle, and that's a good thing. I say it's good to experiment, but once you find like that sound is like once you stamp your sound, you want to continue that process because your fans get used to hearing you a certain way and seeing you a certain way. Not that you can't be versatile and experiment, because I think everybody likes to do that, right?
Right.
Especially if you're an artist. Like you said, you don't want to box yourself in. But quality is quality.
Most definitely.
You know, and everybody that you mentioned got five quality. You know, I'm talking about like these ain't no just started out engineers. These is, you know, some G's in the game. You know, I like to call them legends in the city.
Right.
So, you know, shout out to those guys, man.
Right.
So they got your sound right and you got your music right.
Right.
What's like your process when you are writing? Do you freestyle still? Do you write?
I like to write.
Okay.
I've never been big on the freestyle. I feel like, you know, when you freestyle, it don't really come out the way it's supposed to. So I like to write. You know, I feel off the emotions off the beat.
Okay.
I listen to the beat first, and then after that, I catch a vibe, and then I just start just going off the beat.
Let the beat talk to you.
Right. I go off the emotions off the beat.
So, what kind of beats do you like?
I like a little Derez Deshaun type beats.
Okay.
I like Ride Wave.
Okay.
I like a little Young Boy. I like a little Kevin Gates a little bit.
So, you know, something that hit with melodic.
Right.
Okay.
I'm very melodic.
Yeah, for sure. I done checked you out now.
Yeah.
I done checked you out. And so would you say that is kind of like your, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to box you in, but do you think that's more like your lane, the melodic style of rap?
Yeah, I feel like, that's part of my process of how I elevated my own sound. I didn't want to sound like nobody else. So, I can get it to you this way. I can get it to you another way. You just never know.
For sure.
You know how some people say, man, all his songs sound the same. But I can genuinely say mine's don't.
Yeah, I can say that too.
Right.
And speaking of songs, so I know that when I went to your page, I got a chance to hear something that was it sounded like it was kind of new.
Right.
Is it a whole new project or are you just dropping singles?
No, I just dropped the project.
Okay. Tell us about the project. Tell us the name of the project and how you pushing it right now with what song you got that's burning, because I'm waiting on him to send me the record, y'all. He fit to be in rotation, but he got to send me the record. I know how y'all artists are. Y'all be picky.
The project is called I'm Okay For Now. It's out everywhere on all platforms.
Yes.
I just dropped it probably 3 weeks ago. The single I'm pushing is straight drop at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, all on ride. It's about a good Samsung EP. I just gave you a little bit,
Okay.
But it took me, once I put it together, you can tell I put it together. Like I don't really like doing rush music. So if I'm on a project, I won't do no shows. I won't do nothing. I just stay strictly locked in on that project.
That's a good process. I know, there's all different types of strategies, right? People talk about, drop songs, every this, every that, right? But I think sometimes it depends on what type of artist you are.
Right.
I like the EPs because it gives people a small enough dose and you can put enough content together to tie all those together. And then when you're doing a project, it's like me being old school, we used to call a CD no skips. You know what I'm saying? This ain't got no skips. That I can ride to this from beginning to end, right?
Right.
And because it had a vibe, it had a feel. Even if some of the music was different, it felt like they were intertwined and linked. And I think that takes a special type of curation when you're developing your sound and developing a project, because every project is different.
Definitely.
How many you got out right now?
3.
3? Okay.
Got 3.
So from first project to the current project, what's different?
I'm actually by myself with no features.
No, so this whole one, they got
no features.
Nobody on it.
No.
All you.
All me.
You locked in then.
Yeah. I didn't want, some people say, when you do certain songs with artists, they be like, oh, I want to know how he'll do with a song by himself, or, he got too many features. So I just really wanted this one just, kind of like a presentation to my supporters. I just wanted to give them something that like a real piece of me, for real, just all me.
Cool. Now, I'm going to ask you this because this is one thing I ask typically everybody that comes in that does music. Who are your top 3 inspirations when it comes to music? And it doesn't have to necessarily be music artists that influence you, but who are your top 3 influences?
It don't have to be music.
Don't have to be music.
I like LeBron James.
Okay.
I like what he stands for other than basketball. He's a lot bigger than basketball.
For sure.
I like the fact that, he's in his community with schools and stuff like that, like real businessman, and then, he give back to the city, give them hope, stuff like that. So I always support that, you know what I'm saying? Anybody that's trying to open the door for somebody else, I'm always big on that. I never want to be just the only spotlight. So if I can kick the door down and give somebody else an opportunity, I'll do that. So LeBron James won.
Okay.
I like J. Cole.
Cole is that dude.
I like J. Cole for sure, because J. Cole is a real artist. You can tell when he puts something together, he really puts something together.
That pen serious.
Yeah, it is. You can tell he don't give out rush music.
Yeah.
So it be timeless music. So I like that. My third artist, I like the Red Sean a lot. I feel like he's an underdog. He don't get enough credit on his pen level either.
He got a nice pen. He got a nice sound too.
Right.
I think that when you talk about the Reds, it's like I'm just waiting for that one.
Yeah.
That one. And he's been close. Yeah. He's been like real close.
I feel I also feel like it's just part of his part of the people that he got around. I feel like he don't have enough people to really push him in his full potential. Because
Right.
that really matters too. If you don't have a solid foundation people around you, that can discourage you too as an artist.
Yeah, team is so important.
Right.
There's no I in team,
Right.
and you need everybody in there. So, man, shout out to those selections. I kind of rock with them.
Yeah,
I know you mentioned LeBron, and I always ask people this. So, of course, you got a chance to look at the building a little bit. You're at 101.1 The Culture. We're housed in the Crescent Cultural Community Center. So, a lot of times I always ask artists, what do you aspire to do culture wise? That's not, it may be spawned from your music, but how do you want to make an impact?
I always seen myself bigger than music. You know what I'm saying? So how I try to inspire, be part of what I need to be a part of. I give back. I already work with kids.
That's dope.
I got a daycare. It was my mom, so me and my sister took over it. So I do that. So I try to, like I say, it's been plenty of times. I won't name the artists. It's been plenty of times I done paid for studio sessions. You know what I'm saying, behind the scenes, and I done wrote for a couple people too. I just,
you ain't got to put it out there.
Right.
You know what you did, and they know what you did.
Right. So I never been a selfish type artist. I always want to just be one of those artists where you can't never feel like you too good to talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Because you got some that act like they bigger than what they is, and it's just like they act like they too good than people. They forget where they come from.
Facts.
And I ain't never want to be one of them kind of artists.
I agree with you. Now you said something there that I really want to touch on before we go anywhere else, right? Okay. What is it like running a daycare?
Man, it takes a lot of patience. It teach you a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, a lot of those kids that we have, a lot of them are, have single parents and stuff like that. So I try to, be the best I can in their life too. Try to give them inspiration, give them positive stuff to do, stuff like that. The things that I missed in life, I try to give them that too. Because I didn't have a father, but my mom showed me a lot of love and showed me how to love.
Yeah.
To the point I know how to give a love to somebody else.
Man, that's awesome.
Right.
So the record that I'm gonna get for the station, which one you sending me?
Straight Drop.
Straight Drop. Be on the lookout for Straight Drop. You guys can always check us out. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the website, 101theculture.com. You can go there. There's a player. Click on the play button, and we got nonstop music. Starting next week, we got the interviews actually streaming on the stations on Sundays as well. So people will be able to not only catch us on the YouTube, on the Facebook, but they'll also be able to catch your interview on the station as well. Because I got a lot of interviews, and people be like, "Man, I listen to the station. I hear a lot of music, but I want to hear some of the other stuff too." So we got to get the people what they want.
Most definitely.
Also, they can also tune in. There's an app called the TuneIn app. There's an app called Live 365. You can download those apps. Search for 101.1 The Culture. We'll pop up. You'll see the logo. Tap in.
Bad.
So, any special shout outs?
Let me see. I'd like to shout out to my boy Livingston. He doing his thing. He's a gospel artist, so be on the lookout for LG.
LG, what's up?
Shout out to fam. Shout out to Tay Day. Tay Day from Alabasta. He's on the rise too. Who else?
We got so much talent.
We do. Try not to miss nobody. Let me see. Shout out to my cuz, man, Trent Wofford. Shout out to him too. He doing his thing in the NBA, stuff like that. So shout out to him.
Word.
So yeah, man, that's my folks, man. That's my people, man. Y'all be on the lookout for them, cause everybody got a plan, and they're gonna prosper for sure. I believe in them.
That's what's up. Make sure you go catch my boy Beezy. Now, Beezy, how can they follow you on all your social media?
Instagram, benhim_stillhim. Twitter, Beezy_I am. Facebook, Broderick Thomas. YouTube, official Beezy Vivo. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just tap in with me, man. That's where I'm at. That's all the sites I'm on. Y'all catch me anytime. I'm dropping more music. I promise I'm gonna give y'all another project for the year out. So I hope y'all really enjoying the one I just gave out. So
for sure. Man, thank you for pulling up.
Thanks
you
for
stopping
me.
by. You're welcome anytime. Just holler at me. Keep on shooting me music. I got you because I'm rocking with what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Much love.
And I always say, if you got something that you want to do for the youth, we got a space.
Okay.
So just tap in with us. And I always like to have community partners. For us, it takes a village for us to work with the youth in the city. So if you got anything going on, hit me up, or you got something that you planning on doing and you got an idea, tap in with us. Let's see if we can't work something.
I got you.
All right, for sure.
For sure.
And with that, it's your boy Benny Hertz. My dog Beezy. We out.
We out.